Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor Cardhoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online, and our newest co-sponsor Cardamajigs.com, presenting Cubamajigs. These durable, scratch-resistant plastic cases are perfect for cubes, sideboards, and more, with new designs every single Monday. I'm Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Erin Campbell.
What's poppin'?
Reuben Bressler.
Hi, happy Thursday, friends.
On location over there.
I am on location I'm in an undisclosed bunker in Los Angeles playing some Commander with some folks who are in town for the Grand Prix here in Los Angeles. Visiting a good amount of folks. Dana Fisher stopped in during the pre-show, and her dad, Adam.
Yep.
And also Phil DeLuca of the Commander In podcast was here a little while ago, and a bunch of us are playing Commander right before the event this weekend.
Very nice. Well, a few notes before we get started here. Our Kickstarter it should be launching next week. And I say should be because I feel pressure now, and I have not written anything yet, and it's fine. So we're going to be recording some stuff on Sunday for that.
Okay, good to know.
Right. The Kickstarter.
For those playing along at home, Reuben and I just found out about this.
Well, no, we talked about it last week, and then we talked about it a week before that and stuff. But that said, and again, we are on Spotify, and it's really cool. I have different metrics on Spotify than I do on our normal Libsyn stuff. So like, cool. I can tell like when they're listening the most and when they're not. So like during the beginning when I'm kind of rambling with stuff, they don't really listen to that. It's fine.
And you love that stuff too.
Well, I mean, it's good to know. It's fine.
Yeah.
That said, we kick it off with our first pick and giveaway. Our giveaway, of course, this week is a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com. ! Raffle in the chat. Get yourself signed up for that. Let's give it away to somebody awesome. We get our first pick. We also kick it off with a trumpet blast. We don't have one this week, but if you support us at the highest level of Patreon, you can get yourself one if you have something you would like to announce to the world. That said, our first pick is the Mythic Championship MC1 2019 MC1 being the official hashtag.
There you go.
It's a bunch.
It's going to take a minute to get used to the hashtag. Yeah.
So, and we'll obviously get to Autumn Burchett here in just a minute, but I got to start sort of at the beginning. I got to say that what we were told is that the Grand Prix coverage, well, we weren't told anything. The Grand Prix coverage just left. And then later they came back and said, we'll have it at select blah, 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 blahs. Okay, that's cool. And so they're like, no, man, this is 2019. We're doing coverage for real. We're changing things up. We're moving that money and we're moving it around, okay? It's a whole new world. We're esports, baby. We renamed our Twitter account, y'all. It's crazy. And so we get to this coverage of the event. And it's the same coverage I've seen for 5-10 years now. Yeah. Like literally, all they changed was the logo. They didn't even change the color scheme. They didn't change the lighting. They didn't change the setup. They didn't change any special segments that they had planned out. What was different? Seriously, nothing changed.
I did like the way that they did the interviews. They did this new thing where like the background looked like frozen somehow. Like that was a neat little graphic, but yeah, not much change. When I think of esports, I think of something out of The Voice. I think of like spinning chairs and confetti and lighting and sound and boom. And it just didn't give me what I was expecting.
I mean, same props. I mean, and obviously the same people who were great, don't get me wrong, they're fantastic. But again, what's different? What actually changed at all between the previous Pro Tour you covered and this one? Like, there better be something unbelievable for the actual arena Mythic Championships. And let's not even get started on how weird it was, how they kept saying that, like, John Finkel has made the top 8 of, like, so many Mythic Championships. And I'm like, that's weird. You're calling this the first one, right? You know they're calling this the first one.
Right.
So are you retconning?
Right. I didn't know. It was like no one has any Pro Tour championships ever. They all have Mythic Championship. It's very strange. I like Pro Tour coverage where it was when the last Pro Tour happened.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying they did a bad job. I'm not saying it was crap or anything. I'm just saying it didn't change.
There was definitely a disconnect in the branding where, they want us to say it's a Mythic Championship, but yet no one's really calling it. Nobody's really remembering to call it a Mythic Championship. The example that you gave of, Mythic Championships being the first of its kind, but yet you're referencing events that had happened before it, which we know as Pro Tours. And so I'm hoping this is something that gets smoothed out with future ones, but for the first one, it was a little bit of a rocky transition.
Yeah, I am happy with the cast that they have. I'm happy with the WAR coverage was. There were 55,000 people concurrent at one point during this Pro Tour, which blew the old record out of the water. And so clearly, if it ain't broke, you don't really have to fix it. But you're right. With the rebrand, you would expect there to be some sort of change, and there really wasn't.
I mean, I've been through rebrandings, and like, I would not have been satisfied with, well, they just deleted that item and then put Mythic Championship in a Bellerin font. We're all done here. All right, y'all. I'll see you next Pro Tour. I mean, Mythic Championship. Ha ha. See you. You know, it's like, okay, they were referring to the Hall of Fame, and literally nothing has been announced. Like, what does the Hall of Fame mean? How does it change? Is it going to change? Is it even going to exist? What kind of benefits are you going to get? I don't know. Like,
I think they're going to let the Hall of Fame stick around for another year just so that we can all vote for Reed Duke to get in.
Absolutely.
So Superman can be in the last class.
I am going to campaign for him like Tracy Flick in election. I'm going to make cupcakes. I'm going to knock on doors. Have you heard of Reed Duke? Are you voting for Reed Duke? Here's a panel on why you should vote for Reed Duke.
By the way, we did not do a Magic Mike's Fantasy Draft League for this time.
We did not.
We didn't because it wasn't a Pro Tour, so we didn't do the Pro Tour Fantasy Draft. But we're going to concede this one. I think Evan and I have decided that Erin was going to take Reed Duke this time.
Yep.
Bay had been on the bench of a couple of Estrus draft teams for a couple of Pro Tours in a row. It was about time that was the first pick. And Autumn had been on your team the last 2 or 3 Pro Tours.
Yeah.
And so that was probably going to be a trend that continues. And I'm not sure anyone in the history of the Magic Mike's Pro Tour Fantasy Draft, which we've back-named to now be the Mythic Championship Fantasy Drafts, has ever had 2 people in the top 8. I don't think we've ever done that. So
I don't think so. That would be
I will graciously bow out to Erin on
thank
that
you.
one.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the big deal here. And I will just kick this off. I want to hand it off to Erin, who I think obviously has much more better perspective on this than I do. But that I would just want to note that if you haven't seen any of the Mythic Championship from this past weekend, you got to go watch Game 5 of the final match of the finals. There's a play that Autumn makes where they do something that I would have never done. Like, I'm just not that good. And it's one of those ways, and this is just the first 2 or 3 turns of the game, where I'm just like, I am not good enough at Magic to ever win this match. I would just have lost. I would have just lost in all the ways in which the commentators explain how Autumn would have lost had they not done a certain thing in a certain way. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible, and I was absolutely blown away, and Autumn deserves everything that she's gotten and then some, and it's amazing. And Erin, tell me all about Autumn Burchett winning the Mythic Championship.
Yeah, so I mean, this was what we all watch Pro Tours for. I mean, this top 8 was full of just next level magic of, when you're sitting in Twitch chat and you have all the information, you think you know what's going on. We've all watched a game and thought, I know what I would do, or I know what they should have done. And this was magic where you have no idea what they're even going to do. And it was glorious to watch. I've known Autumn for a while now, and the train just hasn't really stopped. Back-to-back national English champion. They've, for as long as I've known them, they've always operated on sort of a different playing field. And this is the first time in 25 years that a non-male has won the Pro Tour. You can't deny the impact of that. I don't care how hard you are. I don't care who you are. When you look at the impact of this, my Twitter feed was full of women who were literally crying, non-binary folks who were recording videos of themselves cheering. And when you look at the hashtag that was started, a trans MTG, when you go through that on Twitter, look at all of those people that this win means something to. Like, you can't deny the impact of this win. And just watching along at home, I was sitting in the chat, I was moderating. Emma was there sort of doing kind of guerrilla coverage. Emma tackling Autumn after the win was a moment in and of itself. And it was just amazing. And you really just can't deny the impact that this had and that this is going to have, going forward. It was such a huge win.
Yeah, it was absolutely terrific. Just incredible play. I mean, the whole top 8 was great for what it's worth. Like, it's
absolutely
not like those matches were bad. It was just that match, that play in particular was like, it's like when I got to go to the Pro Tour for the first time, you see stuff like that just out on the floor. Like when you're just like walking around seeing stuff, and they don't have that stuff in coverage because you're just happen to be at the event or whatever. I got the opportunity to go, and so like when I first got to go back when I went over to Spain, and I was like in Valencia, I was like, holy cow, these people are playing on levels that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
And those are the types of sort of next level, your next level, your next level, your next level. I love that. I think that's one of the things that's amazing about high level Magic is you go, wow, I think I'm playing at this level, and I ain't. I'm just not. I'm not that good. And that was incredible. So that's clearly one half of the weekend. The other half being Brian David Marshall. Hashtag thank you BDM. Some absolutely incredible stories coming out about that one. There was a fantastic video piece they put together at the Mythic Championship for Brian of having some pro players tell him about their experience and what Brian meant to them and whatnot. There's been tweets just nonstop over the past week or so.
My favorite was from PB's mom. And can I just say, if you've had a chance to look at PB's wedding photos, go ahead and do that, because his mom looks like a character. Like, I've never wanted someone to be my best friend so badly. She's amazing. But even she had sent a tweet to BDM and says, I remember when you discovered my son, you gave this kid a shot. And even he was like, I just fell apart at that tweet. And I'm like, oh my God, your mom. And just
right. My favorite quote was from Reed, which got cut from the video, which was, I will edit myself here because children are watching. But essentially it boiled down to, you're not the reason that people played in the Pro Tour, but you're the reason why anyone gave a
crap
blank,
yeah.
Which I thought was absolutely perfect and encapsulates everything. There was a time in my life where I thought I wanted to follow in Brian David Marshall's footsteps and be the next Pro Tour historian, because I knew that no one could replace him, but someday he was going to retire. And while my career trajectory did not go in that direction, that path led me to this show. It led me to making things like the Newsening. It led me to being more invested in the history of Magic. And so for me personally, just another voice in the chorus of many of thank you to BDM.
There was an incredible thread from Elaine Chase where she explained that she started playing Magic in June 1994, and then in New York Magic being Gray Matter Events, aka with Brian David Marshall.
Yep.
And he helped her become a judge and whatnot, which was awesome. Helped her win a PTQ at one point where he looked at her deck and said, "You're adding white to this, and you're playing today. I'll give you the dual lands if you ain't got them." And she won that PTQ, which was amazing.
Nice.
Brian, she asked Brian for a recommendation for a Wizards of the Coast job that she was applying to, but he threatened to give me a horrible review so she wouldn't leave, but he didn't. Gave her a glowing one, and 20 years later, she's at Wizards of the Coast. So that's just incredible, the amount of impact that Brian David Marshall has had on Magic and the Magic community, and like how absolutely like pumped and starstruck I was when I finally got to meet him, and I was like, "That's just meeting him, was Brian. Oh my God!" It's like all those people I was just reading about for years and years and years, or seeing in coverage for so long. Like, they're right here, and they're just as cool and funny and smart and interesting as you'd hope they would be. There's one thing I'll never forget, though. You don't take pictures of Brian David Marshall eating. That's a thing. He got on to me about that. And
really?
I was taking like pictures that when I was at Pro Tour Hollywood, because we were out at the dinner, and I'm like, "Yay, cool, blah blah." I'm in the restaurant, and he's like, "Don't take pictures of me eating." And I'm like, "Oh,
hey
okay."
man, if that's the worst thing anyone can say about BDM,
it was just silly. It was.
Yeah.
He didn't like it. It was silly to me. It's something I find almost endearing. I was like, you know what? I'm going to remember that because I don't want to piss you off, BDM. You're super cool. Don't hate me.
And what a cool final top 8 for BDM to be a part of. First of all, one of the small changes that they did make to coverage was they just let BDM be BDM. They just gave him his own corner and were just like, we're going to toss it down to BDM and see what happens. And it was perfect every time.
Very nice.
All of the interviews were amazing. He's the consummate professional. This top 8, of course, LSV hitting number 10 of his Pro Tour top 8s. Wow. Reed hitting another Pro Tour top 8. The gif of Michael Bondi with the dance was pretty great.
You have LSV's opponent offering him a snack.
Ichikawa offering a snack. That was a delightful interaction as well. On top of the fact that Autumn Burchett was the champion, and of course, we're all Knights of Autumn this week.
So. Absolutely. So All right, let's move on here to gather the townsfolk. We have plenty of different things to talk about. Now, today, Wizards ran a live stream, and in one of those blessings in disguise, we waited a day to run Magic Mics, and Wizards
You're welcome.
And Wizards is like, hey, here's this ridiculous...
We didn't plan this, we promise.
Did not plan this at all, but I'll take happy accidents. I think the way the article starts is they say, what if the Whispers went? What if they made a set that skipped standard and went straight to modern? Think of the things they could print, and think about it, they did, because Modern Horizons is coming. This is a modern legal skipping standard set with new cards and reprints of cards not in modern, minus basic lands. Releasing June 14th. There's going to be a draft pre-release weekend. This is very similar to Master Sets in that regard, and even Conspiracy in that regard, in that it's a draft pre-release. There's going to be 254 cards in the set. There's going to be a buy a box promo. It's going to be available in stores and on Magic Online. Remember, there's no MSRP, but there is an MSRP on Magic Online of $6.99 a pack. So there's not an MSRP, but on Magic Online, yeah.
Right. That's not an MSRP because it's not a manufacturer. That's a...
I mean, they make it.
MTGO SRP.
There you go. However you want to look at it. The packs are $7 a piece on Magic Online, and you can extrapolate that all you want in terms of what it might or might not cost in paper. But we're not done. Wizards actually got to show us a few cards that are in the set. One was kind of a riff on an existing card that is not in Modern. That is a fairly clever way of doing so. Erin didn't like it because, you know. Yeah,
if you were to guess which of us liked this card the most, 90% of you would have guessed Erin Campbell. But unfortunately, paying a black mana for this effect is not something she's interested in. And also, there's no Icarid to interact with Cabal Therapist.
No. The reason why I didn't like it is because it was my understanding. So first off, they hyped it up so high and so hard. And then they said that they were going to be releasing cards in Modern that we hadn't seen before in Modern. And so it's kind of like bagged cereal. It's like when you ask your friend to go get you, Fruit Loops, and they come back with like,
Fruitios
squares, and it's like that's not what I asked for.
Yeah.
Or we're Vampire. We have a couple of Vampire players in our community. When they remade Vampire after Gehenna, and then they were like, we have the Malkavians, and it's like, that's the Malkavian. You put some paint on it. What you doing? And so, when you tell me that you're bringing cards, I'm expecting Cabal Therapy. I'm not expecting Therapists. It's like,
well, let's tell the people at home who may not know what these cards are. There were two cards shown. One was Cabal Therapist, not Therapy. Cabal Therapist is a 1 black, 1/1 rare horror with menace. And at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you may sacrifice a creature. When you do, choose a non-land card name. Then target player reveals their hand and discards all cards with that name. Now, it's no Cabal Therapy. Few things are, but it's still a pretty hot fire card in my opinion. Which
I liked the art. I'll give you that.
It's a good callback to that. I think this is like the F&M promo art. This is a callback to?
No, the original art has
the original like this too?
Nice. Yeah, Ron Spencer.
But
it's good to see that the Cabal takes mental health so seriously.
Absolutely,
with the therapists. Yeah.
Nice. Well,
I'm not sure I would go to this particular therapist, but
Now the real hotness was the Mythic Planeswalker that they dropped on us. This is Sarah the Benevolent with incredible artwork by Magali Velinov, as we know, is a master.
So good.
This card is 2 white, 2 generic mana for a 4 loyalty legendary Planeswalker Sarah with +2. Creatures you control get flying and +1/+1 until end of turn. -3, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying and vigilance, aka make a Sarah Angel. And -6, you get an emblem with, quote, if you control a creature, damage that will reduce your life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead, also known as worship.
So the +1 is Sarah Bestiary also.
The +2.
The +2, which by the way is a +2. So it's a 4 mana Planeswalker that immediately jumps to 6. That's insane.
We'll also think that it's a 4 mana walker that gives you a Sarah Angel and stays on the battlefield.
That too.
So even if it was +1 make a sandwich, you'd be like, well, I'm playing this because it makes a Sarah Angel and it stays there. And that's
right. I definitely had to eat a little crow with this one. So I saw on Twitter that the card had been spoiled, and I saw that Magali did it. And I had a feeling she's going to kill it because that's what she does. So I admit I went into it not very enthused because I knew she was going to kill it. So I click on it, I'm like, oh my God, she probably killed it. And then I looked at it and I was like, damn it. I'm like, but golly, stop it. Like,
so good.
Even when I know what I'm in for, she still has a way to like punch me in the gut with quality. And I'm like,
There's some really interesting flavor drops here on the art for Sarah as well, which I'm sure the more flavor relevant folks will point out.
Heather
but certainly,
Dawn is probably the biggest. If you follow Revised Angel on Twitter, she loves angels like I love zombies. And she has been asking for years. Go look up Angel Planeswalker on Twitter. She's been tweeting about Angel Planeswalkers. You know, Mike loves to tweet about the Black Ophiomancer token that will never happen. She tweets as much about this. And so she's been asking for years. And so the minute that card got spoiled, everybody tagged her and was like, Heather, Heather, Heather. And she's been battling the flu lately. And she's like, she was in tears. This meant so much to her.
That was incredible. Yeah, this is one of the things that they're trying to essentially highlight as part of the set, saying that, look, this set doesn't take place in a time period. It's not stuck to a story. It's not stuck to the Gatewatch. It's stuff that we can just go and highlight and look at as part of Magic and Magic's career and history or whatever, and the things that they can bring into it, not only old cards coming back, but like characters that you know and only heard about. We've never seen Sarah since a comic book about homelands.
Well, she's been alluded to in cards. Like there was Warship.
You can allude to her all you want.
Reynolds did a thread earlier today about cards she had been, she made appearances in. So she's been around the fringes, but this is the first time we've had definitive.
Right. The last time that Sarah made an appearance in a storyline was in the Olgrotha story arc with Faraz, who I discussed during the top 10 heroes that we talked about last week. But yeah, the Sarah Bestiary, the Sarah Sanctum, Sarah Angel, all of those are things that are references to this person / planeswalker / god that died millennia ago. And so now to see the character in the flesh, see a picture of this uber powerful being and have it be on a card, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, speaking of that Soldiers episode, we were featured on the Mothership today, and you all have showed out for that episode. We had 42 comments just on the first day, which is wild.
Wow.
We really appreciate all the support that you all have been showing that episode in particular, and all of them, quite frankly.
Yeah, so it's been really sweet, and a lot of people are asking, are they going to make a new Gerard Capuchin card, because that one sucked back in the day.
Because it was a 3/4 for 5 with an unusable 4-mana ability.
Tabak, come on.
I mean, you can take all these old characters and make really cool cards out of them.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and keep it moving along here. Let's talk, first of all, there are going to be 3 GPs for Modern Horizons.
Hold on, excuse me. What is a GP?
No, the GP still exists.
I still don't know what it is. What is it?
The Grand Prix exists inside the MagicFest shell.
Oh, so just like the mitochondria is the powerhouse of
Geez.
Okay.
Right. I think it's like the LOL babies that they have now, when you dig in the goop and you pull
LOL
up
babies?
the LOL, LOL. And there's this whole, quick aside.
You're watching too much YouTube with your kids, I think.
I'm telling you, there's a whole industry about just like opening packages that have things inside them that you have to put in water so they'll dissolve, or you have to like dig in like essentially Play-Doh to pull out of. It's weird.
Okay, I know that where it starts off as like a little dinosaur and then you put it in water and it's a big dinosaur.
That's different. We're old.
Oh.
Okay.
I think you're talking about Kinder Surprise.
Sort of. The point is that there's going to be 3 events with This Is the Limited Set, DC and MagicFest Copenhagen on June 14th through 16th. That's the release weekend. And the week thereafter at MagicFest Seattle in a new, unique Grand Prix structure. It's going to be a 4-day event with 2 day ones on Friday and 1 on Saturday. This means everyone has twice as many chances to make Sunday's day 2, which this sounds a lot like what they're trying to do with War of the Spark over in London.
So wait a minute. So Europe and the US get them, but Asia and South America do not.
Looks like. I mean, not all things can be in all places, I guess.
It's still yikes, I think.
It's a little yikesy. They also,
considering the density of Magic players in Japan is staggering. Like, as many Magic players play Magic as in Japan as do in like all of Europe. Isn't that the number?
I don't know, honestly.
I mean, so for there to not be one in Japan or Korea is pretty surprising.
It is fairly surprising. Magic Core Set 2020 is coming later this year on July 12th. They announced that, so that's pretty cool. With the announcement of Modern Horizons, we now enter a reality of 3 months and 3 set releases. We're going to have War of the Spark in the beginning of May, the middle of June shows up Modern Horizons, and the middle of July shows up Magic 2020. So that's a lot of Magic cards.
That's a lot of Magic. I don't know if I like that.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
This feels a lot like we were talking about product fatigue last late fall, early winter, I think was when we had this conversation last. And if you're releasing a box, as opposed to like a From the Vault or a signature spell book or a versus, a Heroes versus Villains or a Elves versus Goblins or something like that, or a Planeswalker deck series, this is box set, back to back. I'm not sure that sounds like product fatigue waiting to happen.
It's dangerous, and on sort of a very high level, that is the concern right now, is that this is a lot of new products, one of them being expensive even. This isn't just like, 3 standard sets or whatever. This is standard set, expensive set, standard set. So I hope it's good, and obviously I want it to be great because Magic's awesome.
Right.
But Wizards has to be careful with just asking for too many dollars in too short of a time span.
Historically, one of these sets gets swallowed up by the hype of the other two. Yeah. So last time, Unglued swallowed up all the hype for Eternal Masters, I think is what it was.
Iconic Masters.
Iconic Masters. They swallowed it up so much I couldn't even get it straight. And now we've got two standard sets and a modern, essentially modern, not really a master set, but a modern centric set.
Yeah.
So this sounds like a recipe for core set to get totally swallowed up.
Yeah.
It sounds like one of them could very well be lost amongst the shuffle, because now what we've done essentially is that we've announced the Modern Horizons. We've gotten people excited about it. We showed you some cards from it. Okay, radio silence until War of the Spark is fully spoiled, and rumbles are they're going to do something really interesting with the preview season, so that's going to be cool. But again, you have so many releases so tied together, and the narrative that they throw out as like, Modern Horizons is for us to like explore Magic's history, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's cute, man. But for real, you want to sell packs to people who don't buy them. And I get that. I totally get that. But I feel like there's some amount of like saying like, yes, we wanted to visit all the, the people and the places in the past or whatever. But we also wanted to create a booster pack of Magic cards that a modern player wants to buy, and not just cater to the standard audience, because the longer and the further that tail of modern gets, the more entrenched the people who have decks are going to be, because those decks cost a lot of money, and you're not just going to jump shift from left to right. Again, it's the legacy issue all over again. So in order to get you to buy packs as a legacy player, they got to bend over basically backwards. And they're not necessarily doing that here, but they're giving modern players something to purchase. This is what, this is their products. You can buy a booster pack from Wizards and not just have the secondary market essentially eat up all the value.
Right.
Because the diminishing returns were real with Modern Masters. Like
absolutely.
There's only so many times you can keep going back to that well of like, are there fetch lands in it? Are there fetch lands in it? Are there fetch lands in it?
Don't even get people started. There are already people upset that there's no sign of fetch lands in this set.
Yeah, there's no sign of fetch lands, as far as I know. So
well, they're gonna introduce a bunch of weird stuff to Modern, so I don't think that we need to have fetch lands in there too.
It's early.
So,
although we could get more dredge things, Erin, this is an opportunity for them to print more cards, not just your stinkweed imps.
It's also an opportunity for them to
print cards with dredge on them.
It's also an opportunity for them to print Containment Priests. So I'm just hoping.
I'm hoping for Icarid. I think Icarid is a fair card for Modern.
I think that would be cool. Fair. There's a lot of talk about Baleful Strix being a big one. Wasteland, obviously. We'll see. We've only seen 2 cards.
In the show today, they asked Cassius Marsh and Matt Nass what they wanted to see. Matt suggested tribal strategies, so a lot more things like goblins, elves, merfolk support, which I think makes a lot of sense because you don't want those to be uber powerful and way too oppressive in standard, but would be nice things to make more attainable in Modern. And then Cassius, to that end, suggested True Name Nemesis, which I'm not totally on board with having True Name in Modern, but there are a ton of tools to fight against True Name in Modern. So, I mean, it's not unreasonable.
Yeah, and of course the rumor mills are already out with the Wastelands and the Force of Wills or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
And we'll see what happens when it
I
comes
really
to that.
don't want Force of Will in Modern. That's just a bridge too far. Wasteland, I think, is also a bridge too far, but it's closer. Yeah, I mean,
I think Wasteland is way too far. I think Force of Will is good. Force of Will to me, if they were to put Force of Will in this set, that to me says, look, Legacy's just, you got to let it go. It's just done. It's Legacy Light. It always has been. Now it's like really seriously Legacy Light. It's now Magic, Zero instead of Magic, Diet Magic. It's
right, exactly, yeah.
It is a better, closer formula to the thing that you enjoy that is called Legacy. Anyway, today around 3 o'clock Eastern Standard, 16 people were really happy, and everyone else that was grinding towards an invite to the Mythic Championship was incredibly sad.
Yeah, they were.
And a few pros in the Magic Pro League tried to explain as best they could that this grind to the top 8 of the leaderboard on Magic Arena was somehow similar to playing in a PTQ or staying until 3 a.m. playing Magic Online or riding 10 hours in a car or something like that. And hoo boy, it blew up basically in their face, and it was really kind of awkward.
It was very let them eat cake. It was very, you had a case of like the bourgeoisie versus it was wild.
It was, like they're giving them chances. This is great. It's just like a PTQ. It's like, okay. So somebody had a really good essentially response to that one from Ben Stark, and they said, look, here's what it's like if you want to think of it in the PTQ. The PTQ is 48 hours long. Every break you take during that time, even for meals, could cost you a spot. It's during the middle of the week. Instead of 200 people for one spot, it's 10,000 for 8. There's no limit to the matches you must play. All we know is you keep winning, and that's more or less the setup in those in those terms. So
yeah,
what came from a place of, isn't it nice that they let people qualify for this thing, comes off as, well, I've already got this thing. You should be happy that they're giving you the scraps that they're giving you. Yeah, the setup sucks, but at least they're giving you the scraps. And it's just like, oh, could you not do the thing where you're saying the stuff about people making it to where you are?
It's not a new take either. There's this weird subsection of the community that feels like that there has to be some sort of pain involved, where, the grinder lifestyle in general, being packed in a car with 7 of your friends and staying in a Red Roof Inn and eating Easy Mac. It's like, there are some people who like that lifestyle. And if you don't do that, they're like, well, you just don't want it bad enough. And it's like, no, I just like staying in clean hotels and sleeping in a bed. Sorry. And so, they say work smarter, not work harder. And so, to say that like you have to sort of do these grueling things or else you don't want it bad enough, I don't agree with that. And to see that logic sort of applied to this of like, well, you should be willing to, it's the people who really want it that are staying until 3 a.m. And it's like, not necessarily. And to imply that that's the only way to do it, I don't really agree with.
Yeah. And there were a number of tweets about like, check in with us or with your friends. If you're having issues with sleep deprivation, with depression, with any adverse effects from this system, which, by the way, people who looked at this system and have any experience with the Hearthstone ladder system or the old PTQ Planeswalker point system were somewhat familiar with, but this is sort of to the nth degree. And so there was some absolutely horrendous stuff that came out of those. And this is even worse. This is even more of a problem. And so I'm hoping that, much like how Hearthstone learned from their experience, we can't just open the floodgates. We can't just say, all right. And the way that Hearthstone did it, by the way, was there were 3 different geographical regions that had top 4s, top 8s, top 16s. This was one. Everybody's in the same pool together. And so it's even more ridiculous. And so hopefully they develop the system and make it better going forward, because it's not perfect yet.
Speaking of ridiculous, we just got rated by Jim Davis. And
yay!
People. So thank you, Jim Davis. We love you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim. You're good people. This was just one of those things where it was a bad setup. It does no favors. There's this weird, like, Hearthstone basically now has what you would describe as a PPTQ PTQ, oh, we're getting there. But their OP is basically what Wizards was doing for so long. They have levels, you earn points to qualify you for events. Okay, and now they have freaking sideboards. Like, that was their big announcement, was you get sideboards in Hearthstone. They do it like a weird way, but it's sideboards. And we're like, no, we got this duo standard thing because we have to be like Hearthstone, and everyone loves best of one, always, forever. Okay, it's just really odd. It's freaking me out. Something that didn't freak me out, which was pretty awesome, was a Magic Community All-Stars article that came out, which was pretty sweet, quite humbling in my own opinion, where it mentioned KYT, it mentioned myself, it happened to mention Erin, who was, quote, one of the biggest motivators I had for writing this article. Look at you.
He actually, so Ryan's in the chat, and I've actually met Ryan on several occasions before, and it's so funny. I knew this article was coming because he asked which picture I would prefer he use. That's how you treat a lady. He was like, hey, I'm thinking about writing an article about you, and I know you don't like looking crazy, so is it okay if I use this picture? And I was like, absolutely.
Well, that is terrific, and I'm going to fix that alert box. But
it also highlighted BDM and Vorthos Mike.
Yes,
yeah,
Mr. Mike Linneman. Who is amazing. Of course, Brian David Marshall is incredible, and I am humbled and appreciative. And I know, Reuben, you mentioned some stuff on your Twitter tonight about how it's like.
Yeah, I got a couple messages as soon as I didn't see the article until I got a message on Facebook and on Twitter that was like, oh, I was expecting to see you in this article, and I was like, look, you don't need. First of all, I know my place in the Magic community. I'm not a community all-star. I show up when I'm invited and I do stuff. I'm not the champion that you two are. I'm nobody's hero. So I'm okay being on just on the show with two all-stars. I'm totally cool.
Nice. Well, as I understand it, Ryan also mentions that he has to leave a few people out so we can have some more to go on in the future.
Of course.
You know, I don't think Magic Mike's is only going to be hitting 2 for 3. I think
I did not feel slighted. Don't feel the need to. I don't need it. But I mean, I certainly would be. I would love if it happened, but I am not offended. I suppose
you're still loved and appreciated, Reuben. That's all. Moving on. Cardhoarder has announced a really, really cool program now. Hashtag sponsored, y'all. They co-sponsor the show.
Of course.
That's a thing. But they can still do awesome stuff we can talk about. And this is really sweet.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm sorry.
No, wear it out.
Yeah, so for the longest time, Cardhoarder has offered a loan service to content creators like streamers, YouTubers, pro players, as sort of the relationship typically goes, you know, you get to borrow the cards, and then in return, they usually just ask that you promote them, which is really, really helpful. And then they unveiled this loan service, which is awesome. As somebody who likes to play expensive formats that don't often have actual paper events, Magic Online is great for Modern and Legacy and Vintage. And so this is a really, really awesome service. It's very, very affordable. Cardhoarder has always had good customer service, and I'm not just saying that because I'm sponsored. I truly do use them and love them. And more importantly, their cards match. Now, listen, there's another competitor out there who I'm not going to name.
Oh my gosh.
But every time I see somebody streaming and they are sponsored by this company, I'm like, what is going on here? Like, you've got a white bordered this, you've got a black bordered French this, what are you doing? And they're like, I can't help it, those are the cards they gave me. And it's like, no. Like, come to Cardhoarder. Not only are they cheap, but they're going to have you looking good. So go do that.
Wow. Well, look, I mean, and this is very cheap. I mean, basically, one of the benefits, you could say detractors, but seriously, one of the benefits at this point for Magic Online is that it's pretty cheap to play almost anything you want that they have on there. A standard deck, with the exception of Nexus decks, you know, $1.50 a week, like $6 a week. Like, you can play Vintage for like $10 a week. Basically, that's incredible. Like, this is the stuff. These are the bars that people have always asked to like be lowered. Can I please play this older format but not pay out thousands or hundreds of dollars? It's like, yeah, you pay $10, take the Vintage deck, wear it out.
I know at least 2 content creators who have since signed up for this program and have already started making more content, because that was the hurdle that they needed, that was in their way of making more videos and writing more blog posts. And so I think it's really, really impressive, and I hope that people take advantage of it. And it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And we've certainly poo-pooed Magic Online in general a lot on this show, and we've talked about what Arena means for that. But as long as Arena doesn't have Modern, and it doesn't have Legacy, and it doesn't have Vintage, and it doesn't have a third-party marketplace, Magic Online's not going anywhere. And this is such a great way to get involved with Magic Online from Cardhoarder, which has been around forever. And so you know they have the bona fides. You can see their CV, and so you can trust that they're going to give you what you want. So I think this is a pretty cool program that they've instituted.
And it's something I didn't mention earlier, but something they did say was that Modern Horizons is coming to Magic Online. You can, well, and we mentioned the price of it, but not. But I mean,
Arena.
Right, but not Arena because there's no Modern Arena. So I actually think that's a big deal, and it actually shows that they are serious about investing on Magic Online because they got to make all those new cards work amongst all the rest.
It's funny when they announced that it wasn't coming to Arena, I couldn't help but think about Aaron Forsythe's comment where he was like, sideboarding's too hard. It's like, we can't give those crazy kids Modern cards.
That's crazy.
You're gonna be like, what?
But I was like, wow, that's actually really impressive. They are going to put the time, the effort, and the money to put Modern Horizon stuff on Magic Online.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And now you have a program where it's easy and affordable to take any of these cards, regardless if they're insanely expensive, to have something affordable you can use. And that's really great. So kudos. I wish this was a thing that we had 5 years ago, 7 years ago, but
sure,
it's here and it's great.
Yeah.
Let's see here. MagicFest LA is coming this weekend, Reuben.
I am already in Los Angeles,
like
so I am prepared. Yeah.
Are you going to be playing in the Pauper PTQ?
So I was planning on it, and I think I need to tweet about this because I'm actually proctoring an SAT or an ACT Saturday morning. So I don't think I can play in the Pauper event.
What does that mean?
I'm proctoring.
What does that mean?
I am giving a practice test to a tutoring student. I do some work with my cousin's tutoring company, and so I don't think I'm going to get to play in the Pauper event.
I didn't know you had this gig.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't have a full-time job. I've got 85 part-time jobs. So this is one where I'm
rocking the hustle. I've never heard you mention that like you do this before. That's really
I've only done it a couple times. It's just never come up.
Reuben,
so anyway, I think I'll be busy, and that's going to go till like 1 PM, and I think that the Pauper PTQ starts at noon on Saturday, which is very exciting, and I was definitely planning on playing in it, and I was going to play Boros Monarch because Boros Monarch is great. So if I play, then I'll do that. But
are you going to tell them about your other side hustle, script writer?
Oh, we can do that. We'll do that after Evan has like a thing, right? What are we talking about right now?
Do I have a thing? I mean, I was just saying that at this point there's going to be coverage there.
Oh, sure.
Live actual video coverage with Marshall, Huey Jensen, LSV, Riley Knight, along with floor reporting from Pleasant Kenobi, who has actually fueled a few of his own memes with the Pleasant Kenobi bouncing in through the side over there and a lot of images.
I'm really just there for the accent, let's be honest.
Talk about hustle. Pleasant Kenobi has been on the grind with Magic content for the last 6 months. I haven't seen anybody explode in popularity quite like him in a while.
Yeah.
So kudos. I love the jump cut, fast edit, try to get those eyeballs kind of stuff, kind of editing as well.
Very
nice.
Love it. Well, there is going to be coverage. That's great. I hope that there's coverage of at least one of the Modern Horizons events. That would be awesome to see as well. But as far as I know, that's still a question mark.
Sure.
But that said, again, we're getting video coverage of some amount. Yay. Remember, they pulled it so they could pull their resources to make new, different coverage that doesn't look anything like the old coverage, except it does. Okay. On Kickstarter, Seb McKinnon, who is one of the treasures of Magic the Gathering right now, one of the hottest artists over the past couple of years, who has just absolutely exploded in popularity, love, accolades, acclaim. Like, he's starting to win all these awards and stuff. I mean, Seb is just getting it. And he has a new Kickstarter for new playmats of cards of his, including Assassin's Trophy, including Chalice of the Void was in there as well.
Chalice of the Void, Growth Spiral, Be Devil. This
Vengeful
is
Rebirth.
Vengeful Rebirth. I mean, this is, I can't pick one. Like, I'm definitely going to be contributing, but I'm just like, I want that Be Devil, but I also really, really want that Bankrupt in Blood. Like,
I love the way you say Be Devil. It's like it's a Varaska. Yeah, like it's a featured rapper on a Kanye album featuring B Devil.
All right. Well, all I know is if you love his work, and so many people do, feel free to.
It's so good.
Yeah, he's on the hustle too. Seb is coming. First of all, Seb obviously is a master. Was our artist of the art of the year for the Magic Mikesies last year, for that Animatu in particular. That
you mean Aminatu?
Aminatu. B Devil. And Ray Sato. What are some other mispronunciations we've had? In any case, but he is in particular on the grind to further with his film career, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, a very talented filmmaker and lots of short films and stuff like that. And that it seems to be the impetus for why he's doing it. And all I can say is more than merit. I mean, I'm happy to support artists, and I think this is great. Yeah,
and this is one of those, and Pharmacist Judge actually points it out in the comments where it's like, I have so many playmats, you guys.
You have to use them based on your mood. If I'm feeling a certain way, I will play my Isureth, or I'll play my Grave Troll, depending on the format, depending on what kind of sleeves I have. Like you can make them an extension of yourself, like bow ties.
There are also prints that are available.
Yeah,
right.
Not that kind of prints. There's 12 by. Oh, he's right. Prince is in the middle of that. Whatever.
What?
All right.
What?
No. You don't know that one?
Yes, I do. Go ahead.
Okay. 12 by 18-inch prints, extended artwork. Signed prints as well, so I think that's really a good selling point for me.
It's great. Feel free to support Seb as you see fit. We got to keep moving. We got so many things to talk about. Reuben, you did quickly touch on. You worked with the professor.
Yeah, among my other million side gigs, I was a contributor on the most recent Office Hours. For those of you who are familiar with my humor, you may have noticed a couple of Ruby Barbs in there. The overall plot was a contribution of mine as well, and so I'm very pleased, and I hope I get to work with the professor again. I thought that Olivia did a fabulous job, and the professor was spectacular as well, and I had a great time.
Yeah, shout out to Olivia Gobert-Hicks, who has been one of the sort of new class, if you will, of cosplayers who has been, going to events and constantly raising the bar. You might know her from Atraxa that she unveiled at GP Shizuka. She's famous for doing TEYSA. She's done Itrata, if you watch game nights at all. And so really coming up through the ranks, just an amazing person. If you ever get the chance to hang out with her, there's just nobody else like her.
So Magic Championship London, MC2, MC Hoarder, is coming on April 26th through 28th, and it's weird because it's the same weekend as the pre-release for War of the Spark, okay? So that's going to be weird because there's going to be, and this is so strange, there's going to be limited events of War of the Spark draft, okay? Okay, which is fine. They're showcasing the new set as they should. Everybody's going to be hyped. That's awesome. But they're going to have 5 rounds a day of Modern with no War of the Spark legal in it. So wouldn't you want to have the cheese on the burger when you're like, here's my new set, here's the format, here's cards that could be good enough to shake it up
on a major stage,
on a huge stage? Why wouldn't you want
that? They better
that?
hope there aren't any huge Modern standouts that are like obvious. It took a couple weeks for Arclight Phoenix to catch on, for example. But if there's a super obvious War of the Spark addition to Jund or to Tron or one of the easy plug and play kind of decks, where it's like, oh, this is obviously the thing that we would want in this deck, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, it's just really odd. I don't know why you would say that. I guess there's my knowing Wizards just over the time that I know them. My guess is the argument that shot it down was card availability. Card availability will be too difficult to get. You shouldn't expect them to be able to get the cards basically that day or that morning of the first day of the Pro Tour. I'm sorry, Mythic Championship. But one of the PT swear jar for me. But we're not done because in London, they're trying out a brand new Mulligan Rule that is pretty broken in older formats, more than likely. But here's the Mulligan Rule, okay? You're going to mulligan if you mulligan, you want to draw 7, okay? If you don't like that hand, you put it back, you shuffle up. You can draw a new 7. If you don't like that hand, you can put it back, you can draw a new 7. Every time you went back to draw another 7, you're going to put that many cards on the bottom of your library. So if you drew 4 hands, you have to put 3 cards on the bottom from that hand, any of the 3, on the bottom of your library. This sounds actually terrific for standard. I think this sounds terrific for limited. And I think it's really awkward and arguably uncomfortable the older the format gets.
Yeah.
Do you know how many tweets I got about this of just like, we regret to inform you, you're about to get banned in Vintage. And I was on my way to a doctor's appointment. And so I'm sitting in the back of a lift and all of a sudden my notifications start going off and I'm like, oh crap. I'm like, what did I do? What did I say? Don't sue me. I don't have anything. And so I click on my notifications and I just see all these like condolence tweets of like, I'm sorry. And I'm just like, what? What's going on? What am I being apologized to for? And then I see Hipsters of the Coast was live tweeting the stream, and I saw this announcement about the mulligan, and I was in the back of this car, and I just start giggling, and my Lyft driver is like, "What's so funny?" I'm like, "No way!" And I'm just reading all the hot takes, and some really measured takes on this by Emma Handy and Patrick Sullivan over at Star City. Definitely go ahead and read their work, but.
It's funny because, you know, many years ago they had mentioned this very setup and they had shot it down at the time. This was back in 2015. So, you know, 3.5 years or so later, you look back and you're like, wait a minute, you said that like it was too strong constructed, encouraged big changes in deck building. It messed up in modern and eternal formats where sideboard hate got a lot stronger because you could shuffle extra copies back into your decks. Like all those things remained true. But this is one of those things where, like, okay, they can't test for War of the Spark Limited really for the Pro Tour because it's going to be out on pre-release weekend for the Pro Tour. I'm sorry, for the Mythic Championship. So you're not even going to have it yet on Arena. I think the day it comes out on Arena is the first day of the Mythic Championship. So you're screwed there. They're not going to be able to use the cards in their decks if they wanted to because they wouldn't be able to get the cards if they wanted to.
It's also not going to be available on Magic Online, I understand. So there's going to be no opportunity to really try this out. And as Pharmacist Judge mentioned, even Ian Duke said that they never really tested it. So I'm like,
yikes.
Let's break it.
We're in thought experiment
The bottom
time.
line here is that Erin does get to look at 49 cards rather than 28 cards for a Bazaar, but her opponents get to look through 49 cards and not 28 cards for a ley line. Or for a Force of Will, or for whatever. I think that this is really going to support the the tempo kind of decks more than it supports the combo decks, where a lot of the cards do similar things. So the Delver decks, I think, get a lot better. The mono blue tempo decks, I think, get a lot better with this rule.
Oh, so you do get 1 day of testing before the Pro Tour if you're able to play War of the Spark.
Great. Perfect.
And
just what I want is 1 day of testing.
And Modern, which you can't test on Magic Online using the new Mulligan rule. Oof. And you can't play it on Arena. So like, I mean, you know, there's tests and there's experiments, but if this goes poorly, you could argue that you set it up in a weird, awkward way. And if it goes great, you could argue that you set it up in a weird, awkward way. So why would you think that that's the basis for moving forward and that it's okay?
And they also said without a doubt that if this test ends up going well, it will be instituted in all formats. They said there would be no exceptions. And so if this ends up being a success, everybody is going to get a taste of this.
Remember when I told you that Wizards is letting go of Legacy?
Right.
This would break that freaking format in half. I think personally, these are my own personal opinions.
Yeah,
and it would be awkward. All right.
I think that the cards that are going to be in this Modern Horizons expansion are really going to tell us exactly what Wizards wants to do with Legacy.
I guess we'll see. In some sad news, Karla Ortiz had tweeted out that she is going to be joining the boycott of Magic artists at GP/MagicFests, effective immediately. She attaches a letter which says basically the same thing that every artist has been saying from the start, that Mike Linneman has written about from the beginning, which is artists are not vendors. Treat them like guests. These people are showing up and like losing money, or showing up and barely breaking even. Yeah. You're taking a chunk of these people's year. Like, this is not hard. It was never hard. I'm still just as pissed off about it as I was back then, because none of this is difficult to fix. It really isn't.
Karla's letter was noteworthy for a couple of reasons. One, she acknowledges that she's still benefiting from the system. So she says right off the bat, I am one of the few that still gets the hotel packages, and that's really great. And so she's showing solidarity with the other artists who may not receive the perks that she has. I love that she mentioned why she got into magic art, where she was like, I saw Brahms, a name we don't hear very much anymore. I saw Brahms' Desolate Angel on a giant poster as a kid. I immediately ran out and bought my first pack, and I built a cleric deck. I fell in love with the game and its beautiful art. But what really hit home for me was she says a company's values are reflected in what they decide to invest in versus what they decide to cut back on. What CFB is telling us with each GP is that they simply do not value artists or artists' contribution to the game and the community we love. Like,
it's brutal. Because and I'll go ahead and give you guys, I'll give CFB, if they happen to be listening, the secret sauce one more time. Buy a map, okay? Put a pin where all the artists are, okay? Put a little piece of paper so you can see which one of them is where. And whenever you hold an event, I want you to put your finger there, draw a little circle around it that you're comfortable with, and invite all of those people to show up. And actually invite them, and don't take away invites because somebody cooler showed up. That's weird and awkward and insulting. And that's how you do it. And you give them hotel rooms, and you make sure that they have water and that they're seen and talked to throughout the day. They have help for their booth. You give them rooms. You give them a meal with all of the artists together.
You give them bathroom breaks.
I mean, seriously, this is just again, they feel like the artists are there to make money off them, and that's not necessarily what's happening here. Yes, they can make some money, but that doesn't mean that's why they're going to take their time and their energy and their effort and pack stuff into their car and drive all the way to the event or whatever. That stuff takes time and energy. And
do we have a current tally of the number of artists that are on the boycott?
I don't know the number. We currently have, we of course have the article itself on coolstuffinc.com.
Right. I was just curious. I don't need you to research.
Right. But all I know is
it's a sizable number now.
It's a sizable number. It's a fixable problem. It's frustrating, and I know that CFB was saying that they were having issues with profitability of the event. But again, what you invest in and how that works out for you is important. And if you invest in the artist and you put money and time and energy in making sure that these people feel appreciated and and are a guest at the event and not just some person who's making money off of us derp. No, man, it should be it would be honor personally to go out to dinner with like Magali and Noah Bradley and all those people. Like, that's when I got to go out to eat with Therese Nielsen. I mean, that was incredible. And we brought all the other artists along when we were at GP Charlotte. Like, that's the thing that we did because I never knew anything else. Like, if
the Darkin quote is what really always sticks out to me. And that was from Darkin's article about how it used to be a name, Darkin, please come to our events. And then it switched to hello, artist. And the personalization just sort of left.
Yeah.
The last quick connection of connecting, the red lines connecting all of our different tweets here is Brahm was referenced in this article, and Brahm is also the artist responsible for that terrible Gerard Capuchin card. It had beautiful art, but the terrible card.
Great art, terrible card, not their fault. But anyway, all right, so that's unfortunate. And again, I would absolutely love, for next week's first pick is CFB has changed their ways. They've responded. This was the straw that broke the back, blah, blah, blah.
Would be nice.
But as of right now, I'm not seeing it. All right. A small change could be your local store. Starting with War of the Spark, Advanced Plus WPN stores, so these are the big stores, can run up to 9 pre-release flights throughout the weekend. That doesn't mean they're getting more product, but that does mean they can run more events. So if you wanted to, for example, for Cool Stuff Games, which is the local game store arm of Cool Stuff Inc., we have, I think it's 1 Two-Headed Giant flight, because we want to make sure that Two-Headed Giant is, in there somewhere. Well, we only have so many events, we only have 6. So one of them is a Two-Headed Giant, and the rest of them are flights. Well, now you could have 2 flights of Two-Headed Giant, along with some different individual flights, and that just gives you more flexibility. So congrats to that. I gotta say, the things that I've heard out of the WPN so far, and even the rumblings of what I've heard coming out of them, has been very, very positive. So it's nice to know that when weeks and weeks ago we were like, oh my God, the stores, I'm worried about the stores, what's going to happen to the stores. I think slowly as we've seen it come together, and it's certainly been slowly, but we have seen it. I think Wizards is strengthening their support for the stores. Probably not at the rate that we wanted it. Probably not at the time that we were expecting it. But it does feel like things are changing, and there'll be more to that to report as the weeks roll on. Old Magic cards are expensive. And
wow, you don't say.
The oldest and the nicest are the most expensive. There's only so many, and I think there's exactly like, what, 2,200, 2,300 Alpha Black Lotuses that ever were printed, that even existed. And God knows how many have been destroyed, thrown away, burned,
Put
water
in the wash
damaged.
machine.
Absolutely, just gone forever. Well, one of those made its way to BGS, which is the Beckett grading service, and got a 9.5. That's basically gem mint.
Wow.
For the Alpha Black Lotus, and it sold for $166,100.
That's a sold.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I'm sorry, Efro. Thank you, Efro, in the chat here. 1,100 Alpha Lotuses that exist on the planet.
Wow.
This is arguably the nicest one, certainly the nicest one that's been registered as such, and
At least the nicest one that's been put on the market.
yeah, it's just been terrific.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's been absolutely insane. Let's see here. We're running out of time, but I did want to mention here, real quickly. I thought this was super cute. I'm just going to mention it because I thought it was cute. Someone said, and they got Reddit Gold for this. They said, if Pro Tours are now Mythic Championships, then Grand Prix should be Rare Championships, PTQs should be Uncommon Championships, and FNMs are Common Championships.
I like it. I like that a lot. Erin, not so big a fan, I don't think, but I like it.
There is no logical way that you put like X to Y to Z when it comes to Friday Night Magic versus Grand Prix versus Mythic Championship. Those don't logically go in any order. I could go to some random person and they could probably put the championship event at the top, but I don't know. Who knows which is where? I just thought that was really cool, and it was a system that just kind of existed out there right in front of us, and we didn't even know it. And
I want to be a box topper championship winner.
I mean, Wizards loves Mythic. Lord God, they love the word Mythic. Give them some more Mythic, y'all.
They really do.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Hearthstone, I mean, and real quickly, we talked about this earlier. Hearthstone got sideboards, and that's just, it's kind of blowing my mind, really, where we've seen essentially what Hearthstone has done over time has gotten more and more like Magic's organized play, and gotten more and more like Magic's actual sort of gameplay setup in terms of best 2 of 3. And then Wizards has done literally the exact opposite of, they're like, well, Hearthstone's doing esports right, even though they're not, and even though they're kind of in trouble, and Blizzard has been cutting staff and whatnot. So let's just copy them and come up with a way for you to bring 2 decks and play best out of 3 with them.
What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly? And to have the Twitch Rivals event go off extremely well, and that was best 2 of 3 with sideboarding. To have the Mythic Championship have the best viewership it's ever had, best 2 of 3. It certainly didn't change how you explained anything in terms of coverage, because all that stuff was the same. So
I see what you did there.
Look, man, I'll throw that shade because I'm telling you, you give me a bill of goods that says this is going to be all new, shiny, different, and we're taking money from X to give to Y, and it's the same. I'm going to be a little upset. But all I know is it's kind of, for what it's worth, I'm happy for the Hearthstone players. At least now they know the beauty of sideboards, and that's neat.
Seeing the dichotomy of we're getting rid of sideboards from Magic to we're adding sideboards to Hearthstone is really interesting.
Yeah.
It's just, you couldn't write it. You know what I mean? You couldn't make it up, essentially. But let's go ahead and pick a winner for our $50 gift certificate, as the entries stopped about 3 minutes ago. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Congratulations to Eternally_Tribal.
Yay!
You are the
Nice. We've
winner.
been
Congratulations.
in chat a couple times.
Please contact Original Estrus.
Estrus.
I think of the O. I think of the O, and that makes me go Ostrus, and I do it every time.
I also always think of the O.
Heyo.
Nice.
Wow. Nice. Well, congratulations, Eternally_Tribal. Contact Erin, and she'll help you out. Hopefully you haven't been blocked by her, because you just never know.
You really don't.
You just don't know. But before we turn that corner, we're going to give our thanks. I'll take care of the subscribers. Reuben's going to take care of the bit givers. Thank you very much to Sheth DMMD, subscribe via Prime. House of Shadow, resub for 10 months. You rule. Their quote was Tater Nation. Argent Griever, sub via Prime. Thank you very much. Undead Thor TV, resub for 2 months. Joni Goldmain, subbed. Thank you very much.
Johnny Goldmain.
Johnny Goldmain. Sorry.
What's the spec on that name?
Heyo. Mega Man NY 3193 has subscribed. Thank you much. Variant Human. Oh, they gifted 5 different subs. Variant Human Rules.
I saw that.
They gifted one to Historical Society. Ryan Turford, T Greenwood, Big Low 7, and Crusher J. That's amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. You guys are great. Super Nintendo Chalmers 1998 resub for 7 months. Quote, my cat's breath smells like cat food. Thank you.
Nice.
Thanks for sharing.
I get it. I got the reference. Evan might not get the reference. I get it.
Okay. Celtic Damon resub for 2 months in a row. Subbing for 2 months, they said, can it just be called dredging instead? Jersey Bricklayer resub for 11 months. Almost time for that 1 year badge. Oh, wait. We're going to make those. That's what we're going to do. First of all, I need a sub badge. I'm going to do that. And then we need a year badge thing, too, because that's going to be pretty sweet.
You really do.
All right. I'll get my stuff together. I promise, guys. 00 Busy Hands resub for 7 months. Woo. Thursday podcast. That's pretty cool. MTG Effect resub for 6 months in a row. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dankliest Nugs. I like that.
One of the best names.
Dankliest Nugs has subscribed. Thank you. 8088YZ has subbed. Miss Thier has subbed. And we really appreciate all of those subscriptions. Reuben, please tell us about the Bit Givers this week.
Absolutely. If there are any messages in the Bit Givers, I will let you handle that. I also have to decide on, well, I think that they wanted me to do Kermit this week, so I think we'll do that.
Oh, boy.
Because we only have 5 folks who gave us bits. So thank you to J-Dubs 2008 for 5 bits. House of Shadow with his traditional 69 bits. That's very nice. Mr. Woo 85 bits. Eternally Tribal, this week's winner, gave us 100 bits. And Martin Kesa, 293 bits.
That's not Martin Kaka. That's Martin Kesa.
Kesa's how do you pronounce it?
Like Kesa.
Wow. Oh, my God. All right. So
I'm wearing my Voice Actor Studio shirt this week. If you guys live in Las Vegas and you want to get into voice acting, you should go to the Voice Actor Studio.
Make it happen. All right. We turn the corner to the finisher this week. The hit sci-fi show The Magicians referenced magic. Well, it is about magic and magicians after all, but no, this time it referenced Magic the Gathering, specifically a villain trading information for a Black Lotus. Now, magic and the magicians go together perfectly, and with hit shows like Stranger Things referencing D&D, Hasbro properties are hotter than ever. So where else would you expect to see products from the largest toy maker in the world pop up in pop culture, Reuben?
I think we're already halfway to a Magic the Gathering and My Little Pony mashup. The horse cycle from M11, Crested Sunmare, and of course, as you know, friendship is magic.
It is 100% magic, as it turns out. Erin?
Well, I'm looking forward to the inevitable crossover between the best reality show of all time and the top military propaganda cartoon in history. That's right, RuPaul's Drag Race and G.I. Joe, because glowing is half the battle.
Wow.
G.I. Joe.
Look, I don't really like The Magicians. Hashtag the book was better. But now that we broke the seal, I'm looking forward to more magic integration. My favorite villain from the series, Quentin Coldwater, did not get his due in the series, in my opinion, so I am hoping for better when they introduce their newest villain in Season 6, Nicol Bolas, because there's always a greater power.
It really is.
Nice. Yeah, and if we're losing Nicol Bolas in War of the Spark, he's got to go somewhere.
Let's hope. I am bolused out.
We have been bolused.
We do have to talk about our top 10 villains for the top 10s on next week. So we'll see if we're bolused out by the end of that too.
Absolutely. Well, that ends another live episode of Magic Mics. Thank you for joining us here to discuss all things magic. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you for having me, and thank you to all the new faces on this Thursday show.
You guys are great. Thank you, Reuben.
Thank you so much. And yeah, come back next week. We're usually on Wednesdays, but special Thursday show this week. And thanks to Jim for the raid. So y'all come back now, you hear?
We're going to go to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsors, Cardhoarder.com and Cardimajigs.com, my co-hosts, Erin Campbell and Reuben Bressler. You guys for watching or listening, and hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMics. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, Twitch.tv at MagicMics, on Twitter at MagicMicsCast, our Magic Mics subreddit, and like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Talk to us privately at MagicMicsPodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at MagicMicsPodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or find us on Spotify, or join us here next week on Wednesday, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.